be married 60 years in December. I never thought I would live this long, never mind be married this long. But we are, and I guess we do love each other, even though we fight like crazy. I wouldn't want to be with anyone but him. It takes two people wanting the same thing. And that's how we made it last.
She says we may fight like cats and dogs. It's only the last year.
That's right.
This is the year that incapacitated by a knee that have to be in the house.
That's right.
Other than that, I wouldn't be in the house. This marriage could last 100 years.
That's true.
So I'm outside cutting grass, doing something outside. But being in the same place, under the same roof,
that's true.
24/7, that's hard.
And I'm just watching how much they both love each other. It's kind of crazy and it's envious. But there is no him without her. Like, I don't know, you can have a conversation about one of them without talking about the other one, really, you know?
You wish you could be like that with everything else, you know, have that same positive attitude towards everything, and even when things aren't going the way you want them to, and just make the best of it.
Memorializing all this stuff is really important to me because we're here a lot for dinners and for get-togethers, and we talk about stuff, but nothing really gets remembered as far as, you know, our family, our heritage, and, you know, the stories go around and around, but they can get watered down pretty easily.
She was 11 when they got married, right?
Yeah, that came up too. I think he was like 38 and she was 11.
I met my future husband when I was 15 years old. And actually we had just moved to Williamsburg at that time. And all my friends were still in Greenpoint. So I used to pass his street, which was the next block from mine, going to the bus stop, going back to see my friends in Greenpoint. And he used to be playing ball outside with his friends.
I saw your mother cross in front of my home. By the second time, I think I drew her attention.
And he would make, you know, remarks.
The third time, I stopped and I looked and I was going to cross the street and I walked into a pole. I swear to God, I walked into a pole and got a black eye.
The reason I dated him, I think at first, was that he reminded me of Sal Mineo. And that's the truth. He was an actor in the 50s. He was with, I think, James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause and a few other pictures. And he was like a movie hero to me. And actually, he knew, I don't know if he knew Sal Mineo, but he knew his neighbor in the Bronx. Yes.
So we went up there and he was going to take us in, but the kid wasn't home, so. And if it wasn't for Sal Mineo,
I probably wouldn't have.
she wouldn't have looked at all.
Although we were introduced a few, like in the coming weeks, so he knew people that I knew people that he knew, and that's how we started going out together. Basically, I grew up in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. As an older teenager, I moved to Williamsburg, where I met your father, or where I met my husband.
Good old Brooklyn, New York. North 70, north side of Brooklyn. I was born on North 7th Street, 6-family house. We lived on the top floor. Miss Selesky, a private tenant, lived on right next door. One floor down, my grandmother, my mother's mother, and my father's mother on the other side. I had 2 sets of grandparents in my home, and an uncle who lived downstairs. So there was the family there, got away with nothing. Everybody was a good soul simply because you had to be. There was always a relative around. And it was a warm place to live, really was.
Well, my elementary school was St. Cecilia's School. That was up until the 8th grade. The school is no longer there. The building might be, but it's not a school anymore. Half the school was all girls, taught by nuns. The other half was all boys, taught by the brothers. And we used to hear the brothers beating up on the boys a lot. And that was like, they were very strict in those days when you were going to school. They didn't care what your parents said. You were going to obey them. In fact, if you came home and told your mother that the teacher yelled at you for any reason, you got it twice. You got it again from your mother. So, yeah, that I remember. Then my high school was a very small commercial high school, St. Nicholas. It was all girls. So I really went to school with only girls from grammar school all the way through high school.
Oh, I had an exciting childhood. Not just a happy childhood. I had an exciting one. And you say, how exciting? Oh, punch ball, stick ball. You know, we go right in the schoolyard. That was ours. You know, when kids challenged us, we challenged regularly. This was serious stuff. Punch balls on Sunday, the adults used to play in the street. You had my brother's people, my gang, you know, and we were friendly. Don't get me wrong. We were all friendly gang. Friendly things that would go on in the neighborhood, and everyone knew about everything. Everyone, you know, we knew when my brother's team was going to play around the corner against some team from the other side of Brooklyn and so forth. And, you know, this is things that we did daily.
In school, I tended to just do what I was supposed to do. Especially in high school, I remember liking to have very, very serious discussions with the nuns, especially my religious nun. She was terrific.
Public school 17, all boys. And I went to School of Industrial Arts. That's a vocational school which brought you up to the level that you were supposed to be job entry on graduation. My father said, gee, that's great. $5, $6, maybe $10,000 saved. College courses, right? Go to night school free.
My parents were Louise and Anthony Gangone. My father was more of the adventurer, jumped onto freight cars and traveled pretty much the United States while he was still a teenager. Yeah, he enjoyed that, and he always did until his older age. He always liked to travel. My mother, on the other hand, was more, she liked staying at home more. Her parents were from Italy, and her father didn't speak English well, and he really couldn't read or write in English. So she used to have to go with him when he was a garbage man. He was a private sanitation man. And she had to go with him when he went to his customers to be paid so that she could interpret for him and take the money and make change or however they did it.
My father, Rocco, and my mother, Bessie, she was a typical homemaker. My father was a blue-collar worker, worked for Interstate Lacquer Corporation of America in New Jersey. Had a pretty decent job. We weren't rich, by no means. We didn't own a car or anything like that. That's why we didn't do much traveling as children. The streets meant a lot to us, the parks.
I remember my father taking us up to the Catskills, where I now pretty much live. When we were younger, he loved to get in the car and drive anywhere. And we used to go on car trips mostly, not really going anywhere exotic or far away, no. Mostly car trips. That's what they could afford.
Grandpa had his own grapevines and everything around the whole place. He grew all kinds of vegetables, and yet we had parties and dancing in the backyard, typical of what people did at that time.
I have a lot of cousins on both sides of my family. My mother and father both come from large families. They had many sisters and brothers. My father, the same thing. So we have lots of cousins that I'm still close to.
Then I had a brother by the name of Greg. He was 15 months older than I was. Sister, 4 years younger than I am. So I was the middle guy. She was the girl. She got the lollipop. Greg got the pat in the back, and Pete, every once in a while, he showed up, maybe got in trouble with the marbles downstairs, but I envied my brother. He was always with the older group, and did all the right things, baseball, organized things, whereas I was in the middle. You know, I didn't have many kids my age. Maybe had a couple of friends, Dickie Maloney, you know, Smitty and all these type of guys, you know. Sonny, that was my friends, you know, and paint the picture.
Let's see, where I grew up in Greenpoint, there was like two full streets of two-family homes attached to each other all the way down the block, and then across the street, the same stretch of homes.
All like
Most of them were family. Two, you know, the same family would
mother,
live in.
daughter, that type of thing.
And growing up, I was on Vandervoort, which was the side street, but the same type of house. It was a nice place. It was quiet. It was clean. It was out of the way. There weren't. It wasn't that busy. It was a very quiet neighborhood. Even after we moved back there, after being married, it was still a quiet block.
No buses, no trains.
Right. We were
no
far
trolleys,
from any
nothing.
public transportation. That's really why I got my driver's license, because I was stranded.
When I was younger, because I liked to draw, and in school they made it official when you drew something, I wanted to be a teacher. I felt then, you know, I can teach, I can do, you know, and so forth. Go up to the blackboard and do something there and have them follow through, you know. Then, as I say, I went to the School of Industrial Arts, took up more lettering, took up, you know, fashion. Of course, I didn't take up every course in high school. So whatever I didn't do, I did then. So this way it familiarized me with every little, I was able to get these courses for almost free at that time. So I took advantage of them. Wound up getting a job in Manhattan at the age of 18. I was a letterer, then artist, then bounced around to sign shops. And I met one good one, Louis Adler Company. The guy was like a father to me and gave me free reign of whatever I wanted to do, and did it, and just about ran the place. And then I moved on. Union got after. Moved on to a shop in, he moved on to Yonkers, and I went on to a place called Morris Brothers Sign Company. Morris Brothers Signs. They made signs for all the trade shows that went into the hotels. They were a very small company at the time, but there was nothing big in Manhattan. There was no, we had the New York Coliseum. New York Coliseum was the average size show, nothing big. Sometimes took 2 small shows at the time. And that produced some pretty good income, and that went on, and he sold it to an Englishman. And the Englishman wanted to produce these family crests, family coats of arms. Hence the artwork came in now. We did our own research. What we couldn't find, we sent to England. They found it, gave us the info, we painted it, produced it on plaques, wall tiles, beard openers, anything you could put a coat of arms on. A little piece of jewelry about 1 inch high, in color.
I never gave too much thought to what I would really like to be, and especially since I met my husband when I was so young, I guess that was my ambition, to become a wife and mother. I was 18, your mother was 15 when I met her. My parents were okay with it because they liked him, they liked Pete. They thought he was a good guy. He was 4 years older than me, so he was more established. Well, cha-cha-cha was a big thing at that time. All those things that went on Friday night dance at either the Lady Mount Carmel, Friday night dance night. These are all, you know, local things that one didn't have, the other church had it, or the synagogue had it, but there was always a dance night or something going on. And I enjoyed that. Dancing, that was another thing I wanted to do on graduation. Take dance lessons. Because we had dance in school, high school. We would double date a lot with other friends, and my cousin and her husband We'd go to the movies, drive-ins. There was more drive-ins then. White Castle, a lot of things. Yeah, we did a lot of traveling. He was driving, so it made it easier for us to go places.
What was that beach we used to go to at night? You know, watch the fireworks?
Uh,
Something beach. Yeah.
Garrison Beach? No.
Well, that was some of the things we used to do,
Yeah.
anyhow.
I don't think I ever had like a formal proposal. It was more like when we get married, or you know, when we marry. It was never like, oh, please, will you marry me? No, I don't think. It was just more common acceptance that we were probably going to get married, and we did.
One year, I think my brother mentioned it first. And I think that's what got us on the wagon, because we married like 6 months after my brother. Mm-hmm. 2 weddings in the same year. He in August, right? Mm-hmm. We were in December. My wedding day started off in my home, maybe 7 o'clock in the morning. Remember, I lived in a family house. Everybody wanted to know what Pete was doing now. And they'd all pop their heads in. How's he doing? How's he doing? There I am, trying to shave. And my father said, yeah, he's got a few hairs to shave off. You know, joking around. We had fun getting dressed. Every uncle had to do something about putting that tie on just right. Get to the church. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? It's getting windy. December 13th, we were married. So it was cold, windy. And when she came out of the limo, the gown was going this way, and she had to go that way, you know, like Cinderella. That was a great day.
We got married in St. Vincent de Paul Church, which was my new parish when we moved to Williamsburg, and it was his parish. It was a big affair.
220 some odd people in a catered affair. It was a big thing at that time. As I say, $10 a head. And boy, we were counting nickels at the end of that wedding, because, you know, they would boost the bag, what we call. Because, you know, if you saw the movie Godfather, there's the white bag there. Put all the gifts in there, and that was it. We paid it. We went to Canada.
Everybody got the same meal, chicken. That was it.
That
You
was
didn't
it,
have choices. Everybody had chicken. And I remember that so well because my father hated chicken. But he had to have it.
And he didn't pay for the wedding, so it didn't matter.
And yeah, we paid for our own wedding. We didn't expect our parents to.
It brought so many people together.
Yeah.
You know, as yesterday, we had a cousin's party out in New Jersey. It was so good to have my 4 sons together, along with all the other relatives. This wedding was a get-together of, let's call the Mafia family. They got together.
They were mafia.
Really. We went up to Niagara Falls, and we just kept driving. Now, 1955 Plymouth. We just kept driving.
We went up to Niagara Falls. It was freezing. I don't think anybody goes to Niagara Falls in December, but we did.
What's the one thing we saw there? The very, very first Dunkin'
museum?
Donuts. The very first Dunkin' Donuts I ever saw
No.
was up there in
No.
Niagara Falls.
No, we used to go to Dunkin' Donuts when my gown was being made by my
Niagara
my
Falls.
aunt.
Then
No, he's wrong. We used to bring donuts. My aunt made my wedding gown. And I used to have to go there for fittings. And naturally he brought me. I wasn't driving then. And he brought me. She also made all my maids' gowns. So she made we would make them. And we used to go out to her house in Lynbrook. We lived in Brooklyn at the time. She lived in Lynbrook, Long Island. And every time we went there, we used to bring them Dunkin' Donuts. That was the first time we went to Dunkin' Donuts.
all right, I agree. But that terrible driving up there and the lousy
Yes.
weather,
Yes.
and everything being black, and you know the truth. The only thing you saw was white with some snow.
Yeah.
When you saw that sign, Dunkin' Donuts, we're home. And we enjoyed it. We came home just in time for Christmas because we were married on the 13th. We came back just in time for Christmas. So it was really a continuous party until you went back to work after New Year's. Then it starts to grind. You know, we got this bill, we got that bill, we had Gotta buy another piece of furniture, you know, and that's the way it was going. And that's where we started.
When we first got married, we had a 4-room apartment. It was on Meeker Avenue.
The kids used to run around in circles.
And I worked, he worked, but I became pregnant pretty much right away.
She had a cousin, Caroline, and her cousin was pregnant. And it seemed like that's like catches, you know, like a virus.
My oldest son is Peter, named after my husband. Actually, by tradition, his name should have been Rocco, because that was my father-in-law's name, and usually the first son is named after the father's father. It caused somehow a lot of problem. I remember his grandmother even telling me, "Why don't you name the baby Rocco? Why don't you name the baby Rocco?"
And the other one said, "You have to name."
Yeah, you have to name the baby Rocco. I says, "No, I don't."
She's going, "Please, you
I
have
don't.
to name it," because he lived upstairs.
Yeah.
You have to name him Rocco. You have to.
I guess I heard his
I says
feelings.
to my grandmother, I said, "Then I guess I don't have a wife anymore."
I heard my husband say, I broke the ice for everyone because his brother didn't name his first Rocco either. It was Gregory after himself.
Right.
And even his second son wasn't Rocco, it was Christopher, after nobody. Just the way you guys were named.
That we moved across the way. The other side of Meeker Avenue was her cousin's house.
My cousin lived upstairs, who I was very close with, and we lived downstairs. And that's where my second son, Paul, was born. The second son, naturally, I wouldn't name it after my father, because I wouldn't do that. So we named him Paul because we liked the name Paul, and his second name is Anthony, like my father. So that took care of the fathers.
And we met new people on this Beetle Street. Matter of fact, the cop, Andrew, idolized him, cop. Freddie the cop. Andrew wanted to be a cop. He was a cop. The neighborhood was fantastic. Everybody knew each other. We had a ball. One weekend after another. There was always something going on. It was really great.
In 1966, we moved to Elmont on Long Island, and that's where my the last 2 boys were born.
First of all, you need a good car. You know, you need a guy with 2 children now. You need a good car. It's a part-time job, shampooed rugs. And her cousin, he shampooed rugs on the side, so I went with him. And the 2 of us, we just doubled our business, that's all. And that's what we did for a side job. Paid off by the end of the year. You know, you buy a car, you do good things with it. Anyhow.
To move to Long Island pretty much was the road traveled by people who lived in Brooklyn. When you had enough money to buy your own home, you usually went to the island. And so a lot of people we knew, relatives, friends, were already going to the island or, you know, possibly going there soon. So it wasn't that hard of a decision to make. I think the harder decision was leaving Long Island to come up here. That to me was more traumatic because I was leaving a lot of people that we really enjoyed, and we were there 26 years. So that was a little harder. But moving from Brooklyn to Long Island was not hard at all.
Our first rent was on Meeker Avenue, $65 a month. I was bringing home, after taxes, $50 a week. $50 a week, and that was better than most starters. You know, it was $1 an hour, 40 hours, you got 40 bucks. I was doing pretty good. I was taking home 50 as a start. And working up, bought the house for our first house in Long Island, 28.5, with $5,000 down, which I originally borrowed from my father. And he says to me, keep it because I already gave your brother $5 for his house. I didn't know. So, I'm moving to Delmont, brand new house. Thanks to Fred and Millie, our friends who told us this house is empty. The guy wants to get rid of it. We wound up in Elmont.
One day, while we were in Long Island, in Elmont, the neighbor, all the way down the block, comes up to, maybe it was Michael, I'm not sure, comes up to my house and tells me, your son pulled the flowers from my flower bed. He pulled the flowers all out when he was riding on his bike. And I think, and you were swearing, no, it wasn't me. But I believed her because she was an adult and my son was a child. And I gave it to him. And I pulled him out of the house to apologize to this woman. And she said, oh, no, that's not a him. That wasn't you. That wasn't a him. So she was blaming the wrong kid. Meanwhile, I was yelling at my son because he was misbehaving. And it wasn't even him. Okay, my children were, let's start with the oldest. Peter was very organized, neat, obedient. He was a good child. He was very, very good.
They knew just how much leash to give everyone, you know, what to do.
They
Obviously,
think they did.
well, it was tightest with me, and then the leash got longer and longer.
I guess as you get older, you get to realize and appreciate the things that you thought were atypical or harsh tended to be pretty normal, and you got away pretty easily.
I yelled a lot, but I wasn't tough on my kids. He just had to talk and they obeyed. Yeah, they were more, they were more afraid of him.
Everybody gets a second chance. Dare they?
I think they just ignored me. I mean, I yelled a lot. I even swung at them. But most of the time I hurt myself.
My dad used to come down and he'd be mad and he'd be yelling at one of us and he'd be yelling at Peter and I would just start crying just so he wouldn't get to me. Like he thought it was like, oh, I must have already been there.
But Paul was good. He was very talented, Paul. He had a lot of talents growing up. I mean, I think he started playing piano when he was 6.
Yeah,
we had to run out and get him a piano.
Excuse me, his brother was getting accordion lessons.
Yeah.
So
And
he
he-
was getting lessons free. So he went home and
And he
played
played
it
by ear. He played by ear. He didn't even have,
on a little
He did-
honky-tonky piano, a little piano.
he didn't even know the notes.
So I bought a piano from a fellow I worked with.
Yeah.
And they made it look really easy in retrospect. You kind of go back when you're in it, you think it's it's easy to second guess in Monday morning quarterback, but I mean I have 2 and it's just like, geez, I don't know how they strung it all together
Yeah,
all the
but-
time. They didn't have money, they didn't have resources
Right,
that
they
we all
had
have
it
right
so
now.
much harder than we had.
Michael was probably the most rambunctious of all of you. He was,
He took an engine apart on my
Yeah,
driveway,
yeah,
okay?
he was the one that liked speed, and he was notorious on his big wheel. It was like crazy time with him, but he was also good. I mean, never had a problem with him. I remember him running down the block one night because he was late getting home, probably always. And he used to go to sleep, and he used to pray he didn't wake up before they got in because he would have killed him. That was the only time they did anything wrong. And just, get in this house, your father's gonna wake up. But no, I think he kind of fooled them all the time. He probably knew. But they were never that late. He was just a few minutes late. They always pushed the button on that. And Andrew was he was the baby. He was spoiled.
By
And
then.
he-
Because
so
I was
sick.
really good. I was a good little boy.
And he was sickly. Believe it or not, that bruiser was sickly when he was a baby.
Rheumatoid arthritis.
He had rheumatoid arthritis at 2. He used to be in a lot of pain, run fevers. So, he was in the hospital for it and worried. He used to be full of black and blues. They thought he might have leukemia. It was scary for that little time, yeah.
For taking aspirins.
lived on aspirins for quite a few months. But he was also a good kid growing up. I think he was the most religious of all my children, even as a youngster.
He'll be
Mike
fine.
was pretty much still around in the house to just, keep me covered, and so that worked out for me.
I never had a problem. They were all good in school. Paul was very popular in high school. He was known as Mr. Piano Man. And it was, I'm proud of all of them, and I enjoyed their childhood. They were good. They fought, between themselves. I think I had a few holes in the wall down in where their basement was. But I think Peter and Paul had they slept together in the same bedroom. I think they had a line down the middle because Peter was the neatnik and Paul was the slob. So Peter didn't want anything of Paul's to touch him because he was a slob.
As a mom, she could have been on TV. She could have been on Father's Knows Best with Art. Really, she was a TV wife. Perfect. Cook, cleanliness, punctuality.
When my parents' friends were having troubles, they always seemed, ironically or not, they always came to my parents for advice and solace, I guess, at times. And I thought that was always pretty cool because it wasn't even hidden. They just came down and the coffee would be going and cigarettes would be going. And,
We would play in a cloud of smoke in the basement.
right.
That was fun.
As a family, when the kids were young, we went to a lot of the local parks. We never really went away, except for maybe 1 or 2 days. Hershey Park, Rye Park. I
Some
remember
jungles.
Yes, Habitats. The one down in Jersey. Great Adventure.
Yes.
I mean, we did
We
all
did
that.
what we could because the exhibition business was a weekend business.
Right.
So there weren't too many weekends that you had time and
To
that
get
the
away.
children would be home. So we did what we could when we did.
Yeah.
We covered a few bases.
Always kind of foreign to me to have friends that their parents were separated and their families were not talking to each other, and there was a lot of
We never had that.
I never had that. I never. So I would try to relate to my friends about it. I wouldn't say I didn't grow up like that. I don't know what that's all about. I just thought to myself how lucky we were to just. It was just our norm to have this family there, even if we weren't physically there all the time. Just to know that they were there, no matter where they were in the country or the world, that can make a phone call at any time and it's all good.
This family coats of arms things became so big. Morris Brothers Sign Company was just about fading away because he wasn't doing anything to keep it going. Putting all his attention towards these coats of arms and putting all investments in it. But what he was doing was taking the cash and working it to England. You see, he had Pete in New York managing. Meanwhile, the cash, when it came in here electronically, he was getting it there. And the accountants, he had 2 accountants, a bookkeeper, and thank God I had a bookkeeper that was on my side and said, Peter, you're getting 2% of this, but he didn't give it to you, which means somebody cancels out some money before you got your 2%. And this is the way, business. He was a shrewd, smart guy. I admired him. He had when an Englishman can talk to you, he can make women swoon just by. After I guess he made enough money, he says he was going to sell the Morris Brothers business. So he come up with a price, but nobody in the industry would pay. They came to me and they said to me, Pete, why don't you buy it? Not at that price. I know what I can make with it, and not at that price. So I got him down to like 20 grand. We wanted 10 grand cash up front. That I couldn't give him, so I borrowed from my father, approved by my brother, because I didn't want him to know that I was borrowing money from Dad. And went ahead with that, and I paid Dad, but the first year paid him off. 2 years paid the Englishman off. Now the company was mine. 7 days a week, whatever it took.
And I can remember decades later, literally decades later, somebody would go, "You're Bellantone, like you're Pete Bellantone's kid." And he would tell me about the relationship that he had with my dad or that he built with you. And those were the most proud moments. I mean, we're only talking maybe 10 years ago. So I'm in my mid-40s and I would start working with somebody and they go, "Wait, you're Morris Brothers Bellantone?" And there was never, in an industry, in our industries, we're always very, you step on somebody's toes and you heard negative things. There was never a negative word said about my dad.
It's true. Anytime, even today, just being around the people that he worked with, you can't even go there without them bringing up, "How's your father doing?" and bring up some story. It's always there.
And we survived. We did well.
Yeah. It was scary when he first thought about it. What if it fell through? What will we do? Like he said, it was his job. And if it failed, he was out of a job, and we had 4 kids.
And a couple of loans too.
Yeah, but thankfully he did a tremendous job, and he.
No, I knew people that
Yeah.
trusted me personally.
That's true.
That when he was gone, the business would still come, and it did.
Just be true to people and
Do what you say you're going to do, I think, is what he left with. He has left with me throughout, working with him, is that there was never any job that was too small or beneath him, which at the time I would have thought was, and it was just all part of what we all still do today. And I think he instilled that do what you say you're going to do. And I think you could be horrible at what you do, but as long as you do what you say you're going to do, that's 3/4 of the battle. And he left me with that.
You guys took over the company and he bought the company. We always wondered why it was going to still be called Morris Brothers, right? When you have these Bellantone brothers that were there. And the only thing he changed on it is he went from Morris Brothers Sign Company to Morris Brothers Sign Service.
Right.
That was a big deal. And then it became MBSS, that you guys are doing, me looking from the outside. But it was that service that was really like the delivery. And I carry that every day. And it is a blessing and a curse to kind of keep that going.
Anyone could do what we do.
Right.
It's not a special license for it.
Right.
It's how you do it that stands out.
Yeah.
Word got around in Elmont that we were looking to sell our house and go up there. Got people coming to the house offering money to buy the house. Sold the house. Moved up here. Gave them the money, moved in here. And there I was. And now I'm here. Andrew went up to college as soon as we got here. And life started again. And that was a new life for us. And actually, it was wonderful. I think it's the best decision we made, other than when winter rolls around and she gets uptight, because real winter weather,
Just kidding around, we were talking a bunch about what are they leaving us, when they're gone and they're gambling away our inheritances.
To be honest with you, when we take a day trip today, we haven't in a while, but it's usually to a casino. We like to go to the casinos. Yes. We used to do it more, usually going away overnight at least. But we're sticking to the local one so we can go and come in the same day.
I wish my kids got to see my dad, especially, a little more in his prime and what he was passionate doing, which was his property. It destroys him to see the house not being where he would like it to be, because he just can't do it anymore. I think it's great for my kids to see their grandparents.
My husband's having Parkinson's has changed our lifestyle. It hasn't changed how we feel. It's just changed how we do things. We're more homebound. We don't get out as much as we would like to anymore. But I mean, he's just very, he accepted it from day one, and he's never said, why me? And I find that so tremendous. I can't believe it, because I think I would have been the whiniest baby there possibly could be. And he was never like that at all, not for one day. I never remember him saying, why me?
Well, the doctor said I had Parkinson's. I said, who, me? You're talking Italian. People, Italians don't get Parkinson's. So you got Parkinson's. I said, well, what do I do about it? Wasn't known at that time. He says, well, there's medication, you know. So you'll be on medication the rest of your life, but you can cope with it. And I've been coping with it. I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed that it's a mild Parkinson's. If it wasn't for a bum knee, I could stay in and walk. Being that I couldn't do anything about the knee, hence the wagons and the wheelchairs, you know. But Parkinson's, I've coped with it. I don't think I've had a truly bad day that I can say that Parkinson's stopped me from doing something.
The positive attitude that he has with this stupid disease.
It's amazing.
To where his mind at is, it's an inspiration to me. I know it's an inspiration to my wife and to all of us, how he keeps a positive mind.
And his life has changed more than anyone's, and he's just marvelous about it. Just marvelous.
I'd say I'm blessed. I am blessed. You can see. It shows.
Going to college, I felt, was like the third step in your education. We didn't have it, and I desperately wanted it for my kids. That was like, it wasn't even a question. It was just an automatic thing. The way you went to high school, you were going to go to college after it. And pretty much that's what happened. That's what happened. You all went to college. Very proud of all of you.
Healthy.
Yeah, health. I think health would be the prime issue in raising any children today. Worrying about them with accidents and are they okay? Especially once they start moving away from you, they're not in your house any longer. Are they safe when they went away to school? Are they doing stupid things? Are they safe? Are they healthy? These were all issues to me. I worried about them all the time.
How about whenever they got loaded, all their friends in the backyard?
Oh God, yes.
Well, that guy had a graduation party had right here, and had dead kids down the basement. I had the street sign in my garage. Big 8-foot street sign sitting in my garage.
Did I say my kids were well
I
behaved?
had a baby carriage in my garage broken. I don't know where it came from, you know.
They changed the sign from Mount Peter the opposite way, that it pointed
When they
in the
put
wrong
it back,
direction.
they pointed in the wrong direction.
But they were good kids, though. I really mean that. Well, when the kids started leaving the house, like after college, yeah, it is a strange time when your children start to get married. It's when Peter and Lisa got married. It was many years ago now, but it.
But Peter was working for me.
Right, and you're adding another person to your family, which has a lot of meaning. It has a lot of, that's very important. And as each of you got married, the family got bigger, grandchildren started coming. I can't believe how many years you guys are, Andrew, the youngest one, is married 18 years. I can't believe it. And it's a beautiful thing. My grandchildren mean the world to me. Our children's in-laws are very
And they've all been wonderful. I have no
wonderful to us,
complaints.
yes,
They're all
everyone.
wonderful.
We never had in-laws problems with any of my daughter-in-laws. They were all, my daughter-in-laws are the world to me too. They're special.
They're closer than many daughters.
Yes.
That I hear, anyhow.
Yes. People envy me for my daughter-in-laws. Because they say you can never expect that with sons, but I'm very lucky, very lucky. The thing I would like to share most with my family is that we might not have had the most exciting lives. I mean, we weren't anything out of the ordinary, but I think we loved each other, loved our kids, wanted to be happy, were happy most of the time, and we wanted our kids happy. I don't think there was anything specific, like, I just want everyone to be happy and
Well, I hope
be able
we-
to take care of themselves and their families. That they take care of each other, stay close together, don't lose sight of one another
We always told you guys,
when we're not around.
you're power together, you're nothing alone.
I want them always to remain close, my grandchildren. These are important things.
I'll be honest with you, Paul. I couldn't have chosen a better way. I don't think there is one. I'm with your kid all the way.
I know. You're not getting away now. My favorite thing about my husband is his love for me. He does love me. I know that. Tells me all the time. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Right?
I know it.
Now it's your turn to answer.
What more is there to give what we've given? What's the matter with you? 60 years, kiddo.
I know.
Guardian angel on high with nothing to do but to give to you and to give